This is Tuesday morning, May 9th, 1972. We are interviewing former Memphis Police Chief Henry Lux, who's now at Memphis State University. The interviewers are Joan Bifus and Carolyn Yellen, and this interview is taking place at the Yellen home, 4241 Park Avenue in Memphis.
Okay, I still want to call you Chief Lux. Could you set up for us the kind of the structure of the police department as it existed at that spring of 1968, as Commissioner Holloman was?
Yes, Frank C. Holloman was the first appointed director of fire and police prior to January of 1968. We had a commission form of government. In January, we had elected the council mayor form of government, and the administrative people in the executive branch of government were then called directors. He was director of fire and police. Chief J.C. McDonald was chief of police at that time and remained in that position until May 15th of that particular year. I was the assistant chief of police, one of the assistant chiefs of police.
How many were there?
There were 7 assistant chiefs of
really?
police at that particular time. Because of the newness of the operation, a new director of fire and police, and because of the sanitation strike that occurred, the formal organizational structure did not really function at that point in time. It was, I guess, a demand-supply situation. Frank Holloman and I think, got together, and we sort of informally operated the police department. It's kind of difficult to explain this because you had an official structure, but we didn't necessarily operate through that official structure.
Why?
During these critical times. I think it was because of an attitude and a personality situation. Holloman had his own ideas. The then chief had his ideas, and I don't think they were real compatible. And Holloman felt like he had problems, and due to other internal problems, I had been moved on to the day shift as what was known as the first assistant chief, I guess. But nevertheless, I finally, I guess to really clarify my position at that time, I was in charge of the field forces to a degree.
Let me ask you something. Excuse me, on the 7 chiefs or assistant chiefs, how were those broken down? What areas of command did they?
Well, actually, there was no, we had an organizational chart, but it was certainly not followed. The organization of the police department at that time was extremely bad. It was not grouped by functions. There was no real management-orientated organizational going on at all. It didn't. It had been operated by one man, an autocratic head, and of course, organizational structures don't mean too much to autocrats.
By that you mean the former police commissioner, or the chief of police?
The former police commissioner, right.
Claude Armour.
Right, Claude
and
Armour.
When had this changeover from Claude Armour to Frank Holloman? Did that take place at the time of the city?
No, Armour actually retired in October of '67. Mayor Ingram was the mayor at that time, and this was a commission form of government. McDonald ran the police department, Hamilton ran the fire department independently. With the election of the new council form of government, a director of fire and police was appointed that brought them back together.
So, and
he took office shortly after January.
Right, and so
January
actually,
1st.
and there had been then the period from October until January when there had been really a very interim kind of organization,
right,
which perhaps had further allowed things to kind of...
Well, there had never been a basically sound, clean organizational structure within the police department in my time of 26 years with it, prior to the time that I finally organized it. There was a formal piece of paper
Let me ask you
that
something.
had very little or no meaning.
Someone said to us, and I can't even remember who it was at the time, that there was unhappiness among many of the officers at the point that Holloman came in because they felt that Armour had a great deal of direct political power because he actually sat on the commission form of government, and that now they were kind of a step removed from the government. That is, they were now under a commissioner under the mayor or under the city council, rather than their own man sitting directly on the commission.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think that was really a factor. You might have found a few people that felt that perhaps they weren't going to get their piece of the pie because they were removed, but I don't think really this had any real effect or any real meaning in support
How
of
many
that.
men on the force then in January of '68?
January of '68, there was approximately 800. And this is rough, about 800. That's about right. That's pretty close, yeah.